Playoff PG. Hey, no.
I won't say exclusively,
Well, don't
but
say
in
it then.
large part on PG. Sal, if you are going to be a top player, if you're going to be the superstar, if you are going to be the leader of the team, then you got to take the brunt of the blame. And when I look at PG, Sal, you can't have 3 of your 4 games shooting less than 28% from the three-point line.
Random number, 28.
Okay, 30%.
Not so random.
3 of the 4 games, PG shot worse than 40% from the field. So that's everything. So I'm not even going to get into the free throw woes. We can talk about that later. But when Kawhi got hurt, everybody's role had to change. And PG, his role had to change as well.
Okay.
1, he had to become a better scorer. 2, he had to become a more efficient scorer. But 3, he had to become a more efficient leader. Kawhi already hurt, and we already know Kawhi is not a vocal leader, but at least Kawhi is going to lead by his play. PG, you cannot be void of being a vocal leader and also be void of leading by play. It can't happen. And right now we're seeing both of these things occur. So, again, I won't use the word exclusively. Instead, I'll use the word solely. And to me, the blame falls solely on PG.
Solely?
Because if you are going to be the fearless leader, I need you to lead and lead fearlessly.
That was the take. Well done. Theoretically, it applies, but pragmatically, like if you actually watch this team in the dynamic, oh no, all he gets is participation blame. And that's what anybody on any team that steps on the field, steps on the court. You get this much blame. Now, if you want to go and exaggerate that, if you want to go in excess of that participation blame, oh, you can't look at Paul George, not at all. The dynamic shifted right before his very eyes, and he adjusted on the fly. Actually, I think Paul George adjusted better than anybody else because he had the hardest leap to take. Think about it. When you're number 2, you're cushioned. Track and field, let's go. All right, you're in front of me, Acho. I don't know what race this is. This boy ain't gonna never beat me in anything. But you're in front of me somehow. And the flat top, all that is drafted for me. Oh, good job. Oh, I ain't got nothing. You taking all the win. I'm in a great position. All of a sudden, they say, Acho falls out. You're the rabbit. Bye-bye. It's on me now. That's a different position versus somebody who's going from 3 to 2, 4 to 3, etc. Correct?
I like
so
that.
we know he has a different leap than everyone else. But let's talk about the tax man, because I know there was a song back in the days before both of us was born. Hey, man, I missed the postman. Let's talk about the tax man, because his money is due. My team is taxed. I ain't gonna come up here and lie to y'all. We spunt, whatever you want to say, we done. Not necessarily in winning these games, but in terms of energy. We've been sapped. And the tax man in real life is going to go after those who earn the most, correct? Except those guys who know how to play with the taxes and they pay zero, Jeff Bezos. I don't know how it happens, but it happens. But in sports, you know what the tax man does? He looks at the guy who actually does the most and taxes him first. Who is rising all these boats in terms of tide? Paul George, without... You don't believe me? You don't believe me? Cameraman, ISO, forget me. Let's see Acho's face right now. Look at this show. Imagine. All right, close your eyes real quick, Acho. There's a world where there's no Kawhi, and they're playing, and then now there's no PG. What is that team doing right now?
Taking L's?
No, open your eyes. They taking vacation spots with the Lakers. That's what they're doing. They are out the playoffs. You can't do this. You can't look at Paul George and give him excess blame when without Paul George, they wouldn't be in this position in the first place.
No. You were with me up until that last kind of convoluted, faulty logic. Here's why Paul George got to take blame, Sal. And we got the full screen. When I think about players in the playoffs who are scoring more than 20 points per game, Paul George is shooting the worst percentage of all of those players. What does that tell me? Of all the dudes that's getting buckets, Paul George is the least efficient at getting his buckets. And there's 8 cats up there, Sal. It's not coincidence that the Clippers are struggling the most if their leader is struggling the most. I also look at it like this. PG, it's 2 games that were toss-up games. Just toss up like a jump ball. 2 games in this series thus far. Y'all are down 3-1, 2 were toss-ups. Well, one of those toss-up games, game 2, that y'all lost, there was 8 seconds left. You were shooting 2 free throws. You desperately needed to make both. Please at least just make one. You make none. Okay, y'all lose that game, toss-up game. Y'all go down 2-0. Y'all win game 3. Game 4, another toss-up game. Can you tie up the series 2-2? It's 6.3 seconds left. You're down by 3. I believe it's 79 to 76. We need you to make both free throws. You missed the first one. So now what you got to do?
What you got to do?
Now you got to go miss the second one. You execute that, because apparently you're better at missing free throws now than you are making them. You execute that. You missed a free throw, Boogie Cousins gets it, he goes up to the foul line. But had you made the first one, now Boogie Cousins is going up to tie the game. Instead, you missed the first one. Now Boogie Cousins is going up to still be down, even if he does make both. It's even Paul George's fault in a micro sense. We know it's his fault in a macro sense. We know it's his fault at large.
It's Paul George's fault.
Yes, sir. Of
Yes,
what?
sir.
We know it's
that
the Clippers are down in the series, first and foremost. So, 2 of the games have been decided by a combined 5 points.
Okay.
2 games have been decided by a combined 2 possessions.
My point.
Paul George had the ball with under 8 seconds in both of those games at the free throw line. You make those free throws, the game changes drastically. It's Paul George's fault in micro, and I would blame Paul George also macro.
It's only the short-sighted man that looks at the end and then realizes where he's fallen, where he's failed. But us, who've been through the rigors, who've been through professional athletics, know, it starts way before you guys see the result. Preparation is the separation before we even get on the field to play. If you don't win Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in our game, it don't matter what you're going to try and do on Sunday. Okay, let's transfer that to the sport of basketball. Are you trying to tell me that this team that has all of a sudden put the clamps down on Phoenix in terms of point production, you want to talk about Phoenix first 3 games? And then also now, look at PG and what he's done to this team. He's playing more minutes than anybody else out there. As he should. And then you look at the team without him on the court, minus 24. With him on the court, plus 47. You want to keep talking about my team? Let's keep talking about my team. Because my team is fighting a narrow, close death. We know it. With Kawhi out, most people say, well, good luck to them. Oh, my God. There is some hope with this team. Why is there hope? Because Paul George is playing insane basketball. Now, he has his micro moments of failure. True. But to exaggerate that to the point where you're going to overlook these stats and these numbers, Game 4, lowest scoring game, NBA game of the season. That's defense. That's Paul George as well. You don't count that side of the court, obviously. Clippers got into a hole 14-2. And that's what I'm talking about when you want to look at the finish line. You want to look at the missed free throw. And you want to talk about the fact that we were down 12 before we even blinked. That's the hole that we dug ourselves into that was hard to get out of. Reggie Jackson had 20 points. You want to talk about Reggie Jackson, who's a beast? But he shot 33 from the field. You didn't bring that up. Why not? 22 from 3. Anybody? I thought that's our second best player right now. I keep it 100. I keep it objective. Marcus Morris, game worst, minus 10 plus minus. Anybody? Anybody want to talk? You want to talk about Paul George and 1 free throw. Okay, let's keep going. Shot 16% from 3 in game 4. Second worst 3-point percentage of the season. But it's on Paul George only, exclusively. Look, man, I give him standard operating fee in terms of blame. But outside of that, you got to look at everybody before you look at Paul George.
You sweating like Paul George is.
I am on fire up in here. He got me on twist.
Let me break this down, and this is why I'm done, Sel. You know it's PG's fault if this.
What?
Your best player cannot play your worst. In the NBA right now, we talk about the illustrious 50, 40, 90 guys. 50% from the field, 40% from 3, 90% from the stripe. In the NBA, we praise those dudes, the illustrious guys, the best of the best of the best, playing the best of the best of the best. Paul George was a 2011-66 guy. He shot 20% from the field.
That don't sound like 50, 40, 90.
He shot 11% from 3.
Okay.
And he shot 66% from free. That's the throws. Paul George is 20, 11, 60. So your best player cannot play your worst in your biggest moments. And Paul George is the best player, and he is playing the worst in the biggest moment. You just said Reggie Jackson was 8 for 24. Paul George was still worse, 5 for 20. Marcus Morris, 2 for 8. That breaks down to 1 for 4. Paul George was still worse, 5 for 20. Paul George, 12 for 18 from the free throw line. If he just shoots 85% from the free throw line, y'all still win, statistically speaking. 12 for 18, big dog. So, in the biggest moments, you know what they say. Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. It was a huge game. You came on the show Friday, said y'all can't go down 3-1. Y'all can't rebound from that. Paul George, knowing everything is on the line, 1 for 9 from 3, say 11%. You could go 11% from 3, big dog.
First of all,
with all due respect.
First of all, I would not. I would go higher. Second of all, you better start respecting who carrying the water on these Clippers, because that's Paul George. Now, it's so funny when you get into life and the team dynamics. It's never even in terms of the blame and in terms of the praise. It's never even though it should be at times. Because if you look at Paul George, he put him in a position where they actually have a chance. But now we're going to shoot them out the sky for bringing them this high. That's crazy. And I got a Boys and Men song for you. Ready? How could I see Kawhi? I mean, damn what Kawhi at. Get your ass out that box and get on the court. I'm sorry, he hurt for real, so I understand that. We are winning this matchup in terms of points scored, 403 to 400. That matters. Paul George is put in a position where it's a winning position, but you don't want to respect that. A lot of people tell me all the time that my Clippers are cursed. It's funny, that's why I'm a Clippers fan, because they're underdogs. People told me when I was growing up, and I didn't even know what curse meant, other than my grandma used to curse a lot. They used to always say, oh, you curse, because why? Because you here, and you from there, and you did. Man, shut up. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I don't give a damn what you think it is. But listen to this. We lost a two-time finals MVP. Yep. Game 1 of the series was 36 hours after the last Game 7 that we had to play. Game 6 we had to play. Then you look at that. We play Phoenix. We go through the Valley Oop game. Oh, gosh. And we still only down 3-1. Why I say only? Because the Clippers always been cursed when they were up 3-1. People look at you like that. Now we got the flip. We got Ty Lue in a position to do this. You're the person that when I was growing up looked at their parents. My parents, man. Mama had 2 kids by the age of 19. Look at your face. You pulling at your heartstrings right now. My daddy worked at a gas station, man, when he met my mama. Worked at a post office years later. My mom didn't work at all. Okay, she was dedicated to the family unit. You're the type of person that looks at my parents and says, okay, you put us in position to succeed, but what position is this? That's not how you look at Paul George. He put us in a position to succeed. Don't you dare talk about him working at the gas station. Don't you dare talk about him being committed to his team like that. Paul George, without you, where would we be? Love you, mama. Love you, daddy.